Johnny.
Hey, behaves.
Johnny podcast. Podcast time. Podcast time.
Still got a voice?
I lost my voice today. I got to tell you this. I did a Stanford baseball game, Stanford, Texas Tech, Monday night. And I saw our boy, one of the best pitching coaches in America, Thomas Eager.
Mustangs.
Cal Paul, you know him from way back. You know his wife, right?
Jenna Eager used to live by me.
And they had 3 boys. They're top. I haven't checked. They were 8th as of coming into the week, and they won 2 games. So Stanford is rolling. Anyway, so he comes up to me, and he's obviously he wants to talk about Trey Lance.
Is he from Daly City? I think he's a Northern California guy.
Yeah, Northern California guy. And but he says, he's like, you guys mentioned me on a podcast a while ago, and my brother-in-law, Joey Ramona, said to me, "Oh my God, they mentioned you on the." So shout out to Joey, his brother-in-law, who listens.
That's Jenna. Yeah, that's Jenna's last name.
So Jenna's brother. So there you go. Big fan of the show. Thomas Eager, just a fucking stud.
Well, he was when I was at Cal Poly. He was one of our better pitchers. Oh, he's from the Valley. He went to Merced High School.
Oh, okay.
He was drafted in the 5th round pick to the St. Louis Cardinals. Fucking pretty good career he's got going. I mean, at Stanford, not a bad place to be. Wasn't he previously at Cal?
Was it Cal briefly at Cal.
So they're good. Texas Tech.
Remember, good. Top 25, good.
Patrick Mahomes, I think. Was
Patrick Mahomes.
But didn't he play baseball for a year for him?
I think he did, yeah. Look at you.
An underrated, having seen it firsthand, like just at Fresno State around the football team, I don't know if we give enough credit for being able to do, like, at the college level, if you're able to do both, you are. It's one thing to be like, I met this guy, he played basketball at San Jose State. You just meet random college athletes, and that guy's like a pretty good athlete. If you're able to play 2 sports, Power 5, Division I, you're fucking remarkable talent.
Just do it for one. Like, I think a lot of guys end up doing it for like a year, which to me is like that's enough for me to be really impressed.
Remember when Jameis used to come out of the pen at Florida State because they were powerhouse? Like, who's coming in 7th, bringing in Jameis? I don't know, the starting quarterback for the national champion Florida State.
Incredible.
Like, I don't think he gets enough credit.
No.
Clearly, him and DC are now BFFs.
I think, him and Carr. I think being a reliever is probably the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Being a hitter is just, not that pitching doesn't require a lot of work. It does, but, you can't miss a fall of hitting and then expect to just step right in. And
does Stanford have any guys that also play for the football team?
This Stanford team,
they obviously have before.
I don't think they do. SC has a walk-on football player who's one of their best baseball players. Stanford has had guys like that in the past, right? John Lynch was one.
So he's you're saying the SC kid is like a legit baseball player, but he walked on for Lincoln Riley.
It has set the USC record for triples, and then he's also like a walk-on receiver.
Remember that viral video last year? I think like the SEC tournament in baseball. One of Lane's defensive tackles is like their first baseman.
Oh,
hit a ball that went like 700 feet. And it was like, Jesus Christ.
That's right.
Because that's the other thing. Like, I follow the SEC, like at SEC Network on Instagram. Sometimes they got cool shit when you're scrolling around.
Yeah.
And I saw this headline that said, like, the next Ohtani. And it's a dude at Florida, the University of Florida, who's their power hitter. I mean, he hits just fucking moonshots. They are elite. I think Florida's like a top 10 team. He also pitches. I don't know if he's a starter, but he's definitely like in the, long reliever or whatever, throws 99. So I'd argue if you could just do both in college, that's pretty impressive. If you can play 2 sports, I think Toby Gerhart, didn't he play baseball? Do you remember that?
I think Toby did. Yeah, that sounds right.
So I got a lot of respect for the baseball, football crossover.
I think Alabama has at least they did have a quarterback that was also a baseball player.
You'd have to be like the 4th string for Nicolau.
I mean, Kyler did it. Kyler actually played baseball.
Kyler did it, yeah.
I think he did. Did he play baseball for 2 years? SC just signed this guy, Deuce Robinson. You heard that name?
No.
Big time, like tight end. He was number 1. He's like 6'5", big guy. Like he's in this. They just signed him, but he was waiting to sign. but he's in this class. Like he's a freshman this year, will be in there in the fall. And he's also a baseball player. I don't think he's going to play college baseball. I think he's hoping to get like drafted. Like his hope is he'll get drafted in the first round, then play a year of college football, and then kind of make a decision like, what do I do? You know,
Do the Kyler thing.
yeah, or do the but he may not actually play college baseball. He may get drafted, have his rights with the team. Then you can kind of do the minor league thing, play summer ball. I guess you can't really play summer ball, but kind of then you're a first rounder, but you can also play football and you can always go like kind of more the Russell Wilson thing.
You know what really has changed the game? I've met these guys. This guy actually, he played golf at Oregon, and he works for Adidas, and he's like kind of their lead scout. He helps Adidas like kind of pick young guy, up and comers, who to sign. He played golf for Casey Martin, and
Cool.
now he goes to these tournaments. Like he goes to there's that college like the Cal Westerns at Pasatiempo right now, Stanford,
Right.
San Jose, like all the UCLA, Pepperdine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just kind of doing like what I did, but instead of for a team, like it's like we should be all over these three guys. And one thing in golf, I don't think the money obviously is high as like Caleb Williams or even some of these basketball players, but like you can sponsor people now, and you
Right.
can get in with a guy. And I think in some of these sports, I would imagine like tennis and golf, more individual sports, or football, like I get early rights to you, like, and hoping to like, hey, remember I was there, and the money, it's not like you're giving them like LeBron James level contracts, but Stanford has that guy Michael. He's got a weird last name, a golfer. He finished top 10 in a PGA tournament this year. Like he's really good. He fell apart the other day, but you see him like, God, he's tall. He's gonna be a pro, And it's like they NIL him. Like it's
They
just
NIL him. Yeah. Remember,
they
I think you
NIL
used to be able to get your own gear.
in golf. Yeah, you could
Yeah.
be, but it was like
Even
it's
before
like
NIL. It was
Taylor
weird.
May could take care of you or whatever.
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
I
yeah.
can legitimately like pay you.
Well, did you see the story? Louisville has that women's basketball player. I want to say Haley Van Dyke. I don't think it's Van Dyke. It's like, but anyway, she just went in the portal, and people are like, well, the one thing is she's an Adidas athlete, so she's probably only going to go to Adidas school. She has an Adidas NIL deal. Pretty incredible if you are Adidas's biggest school, right? Adidas would want to just put her there.
Yeah.
That's a whole other dynamic. I mean, there's always kind of been that dynamic in college basketball.
Sure,
Well,
because
he
of the
played for the
AAU
AAU.
teams.
Yeah. That's always kind of been a thing, but now it's just out there. It's just like it's just
You need to hide it.
Yeah. If you're a Jordan Brand kid, like, well, where are you going to go? UCLA, Michigan, North Carolina, right?
Yeah, I mean, follow the money.
So,
Speaking of money, guy,
yeah, what you got?
the highest ticket price, and we love a good ticket price to hammer home our agendas and biases. And luckily, for the 49ers, it worked, and the Raiders, got to give Mark Davis credit. They've had high ticket prices now. I think a lot of that is outside traffic, but that's another conversation. The highest round one ticket by a wide margin, Golden One Sacramento Saturday night.
What's it up to
The
now?
get-in price, when I saw yesterday, we're recording this on Thursday, was over $450. The get-in price. I mean, so you're talking shittiest seat.
Right.
You've been there. I mean, I went one time. It was really high. It is not a terrible seat in the house, but there are not great seats.
Not a seat you feel good about spending $450 on, right? Like when you
You're
sit
probably
in the
not going
upper
by
deck,
yourself, right? So you're spending $1,000.
exactly. When you sit in the upper deck, it's always about the relativity of like, oh yeah, I'd sit up here for $9, but I wouldn't sit up here for $300.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
man.
It's more expensive as of right now than the Chase tickets.
Wow.
I have a theory.
Okay.
One of my great regrets is when I got the Walnut Creek condo. Now, this wouldn't have made that much logical sense then, but it would have made a lot more sense as time went on. I would have been better off giving the money I bought that condo for, which I could sell right now for maybe $100,000 more. Condos do not appreciate like homes. Going to Sacramento and buying, $500,000 home that would have been worth like 1.4 now. Maybe not today, but like, 6 months ago or whatever. And a big reason for that is a shitload of people in San Jose to San Francisco to the East Bay sold their houses for a shitload of money, and went to SAC for a bigger fucking home for
Yeah.
cheaper.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to diminish. This is not like a Raider Kings take here, but I do think
Interesting.
and listen, anyone that
like
listens to
where
this
you're
in
going.
Sacramento has really benefited from this in terms of your home price and your value because the money flowed there from from the Bay. That I do think there are just a lot of Warrior fans and just basketball, I would say in general. You kind of follow players and trends. I mean, the Warriors have been one of the sexier. They've been like a fucking Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan of like sports for like a half decade.
Yes,
So
and Sacramento's
probably,
very close.
even if you're even if you're a 15-year-old in SAC, the chances that you probably like the Warriors might not be that low, right?
Well, you don't get their local games, but they're on, they're blacked out. But you get all their national games, and they're on national TV all the time, and in the playoffs all the time.
So I was texting with someone the other day. I'm like, well, obviously Sacramento's starved. I mean, literally the most starved franchise in pro sports, right? The Mariners broke that streak last year. The Kings led it until
Lost in 2 games, and it was over.
Yeah.
Mariners were 2 and done. They got 3. They got 1 home game.
So the Kings broke that streak. Now it's on the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, we think. So clearly they're starved. But I do think there's a decent amount of people that like, wait, I can go to this game. Because relatively speaking, historically, like Kevin Durant, some of these Chase tickets, it's not that crazy. Especially if you've kind of still, fudging the books and getting Bay Area wages in the 916, right? So you're still, saving some money, some more money.
Yeah. So you're saying there's going to be local Warrior fans you think are buying up tickets, driving up the price?
Yeah, who essentially might have lived in San Jose or San Ramon for the last 25 years.
They're like, oh my God, I can get in for only $450.
Who now lives in Folsom or Elk Grove.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great theory. I think you're onto something.
Because what was the reason, like, when the Niners-Rams thing happened, it wasn't just everyone picked up their bags and drove down there, though that impacted it. It was the percentage of 49er fans that live in the greater LA area, right?
Right.
So yeah. I just think that we'd be naive to not acknowledge that it was a fact because, listen, my family still lives in Davis. They do a bunch of business in Sac. Like, a bunch of people moved from the greater Bay Area to Sacramento.
Right.
In masses.
Yeah.
And I think
so you're saying the Kings, when we flip the sucker on Saturday night, are not going to be getting the home court advantage they're hoping for.
Yeah, I'm not expecting like that experience of the Niner Rams thing, those 2 games, right? But I do think it'll be less like, historically, right? You turn on an NBA playoff game. Like the majority of our life, it is just like
OKC,
war zone.
Memphis.
But even like Chicago, New York, the Lakers,
Boston,
the Warriors, like it's a home court. This one's going to be interesting. I got my eye open.
No, that's good. I saw a clip on Twitter today of Marcus Thompson with Andy and Sam on Light Years, and he made this. He was being serious, but like kind of being funny and kind of talking shit, but just being funny. He's like, I can't wait for Warriors fans to start chanting "Light the Beam" after they beat the Kings. I was like, oh God, it is going to be. If you get that, it will be.
Is he talking like after game 1?
Yeah.
Light
the Beam. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, I hadn't even thought about when you get a good and like there is for all the stuff we've talked about over the years, there is a good just fucking angry NBA postseason game is pretty incredible. Yeah, I feel like we don't get that many angry baseball games like we used to, Football games, obviously, the rivalry, it's a very physical sport. You still get it. But a good, because it's 7-game series. So, you just wear each other out over time. Just start talking shit and this one's got so much already pent up in it.
Did you watch the Laker game the other night?
I watched the end. Yeah, I turned it on, saw it, and then I'll come back for the end. Then I watched the end.
It was fantastic.
Oh,
because there was
how about the foul at the end of regulation?
Well, the calls were pretty hit or miss, but the edge, like the reason, and listen, people are like, MIDDLEKAUFF, you're an NBA hater. No, I grew up in the NBA where I felt like that was the majority of the season. Like I didn't need to get a play-in game or a playoff game to get an edge. The playoffs were just up another level from the craziness of the 6 months. And now no one gives a flying what about 6 months. So if the players don't care, I don't care. Well, the Laker game was fantastic. And I think it's going to be, it's fun. Like, if you told me the Warriors, like the Kings had continued to suck and they're just playing the Clippers, like, I don't know if I'd care that much. Like in the first round,
It's not. This is.
or Denver,
I agree
or,
with you. This is. I
even,
think this is
Phoenix
good
with
as it
KD. Yeah. This or the Lakers is as good as it could get.
Yeah. Yeah, I was rooting for the Lakers the other day just because I think it's better for them if they're in the playoffs, right? People like rooting for LeBron, people like rooting against LeBron. It's better.
I think we had an opportunity that if the Warriors win, I don't talk to a Kings fan who's like, listen, we get this to 6. It's a remarkable season.
Let me see what Dan Haberman thinks because he's been a long time believer in the Kings.
Like I don't think there is no one with a straight face. Like I'm trying to think of an example. Like you wouldn't pick the Lakers series, for example. Like you're gonna have some people picking the Lakers, some people picking Memphis. It's not crazy. I don't think there's a human being who's not quote unquote either like a fan or truly trolling that's just not going to pick the Warriors. I just think they're going to be universal. Like it'd be like the Chiefs are playing someone in the first round. That's like if the Chiefs could have played like the Giants. I know they ended up playing the Jags. Like there might have been one person picking the Jags, but no one actually believed it. That's what I think this is. So it's just the moment if the Kings could win a game, it gets really interesting really fast. That's the key. To me, they got to. If they win Saturday night, then it's just a very fascinating series.
Yes, and it ups to me. Then the crowd for Game 2 is only going to be more antagonistic. If you get Game 1 and you're not walking in kind of humble or desperate or just happy, you go from thinking like we're just happy to be here to like we're gonna knock off the champs real fast, and that would make for a great Game 2.
I texted someone yesterday who's around the NBA, goes to games, in with a player. Unbiased, doesn't care about either team. I said, what do you think? Kings got a chance to sweep Warriors.
There's gonna be a lot of that, which means that if they win one, like you get the Kings us against the world thing. Also, X factor, maybe Mike Brown knows, it was Tim or Marcus was tweeting like, Steph has won like 22 of the 28 series he's played in or something ridiculous. But there is some X factor here with the guy that's coaching one of the teams was just on the other coaching staff. That's got to be worth something.
For teams that are not in the same city, like the Knicks or the Jets and the Giants or the Knicks and the Nets or whatever, right? It's pretty unique how close they are. Like it's no matter how rich you are, like as a team, you don't fly there, right? It's that close, right? You wouldn't charter a jet from San Francisco. Like you would just take the bus, 45, 50 minutes. I guess a little longer, I think in Davis, but just across the causeway, you bus. Like it's that close.
Yeah.
Joe could probably, private jet from Palo Alto.
Copter.
Gavin private jets have always been Zach, but the Warriors will bus.
Dan Haberman is weighed in, John. Let the Kings know somebody believes. I cannot not pick the Kings. So there you go. This is their year, to quote my dad, for the last 15 years. So Steph sprains ankle. Thompson gets COVID. Kings in 6. Which, it's not like the Warriors have not had crazy things happen to them in the postseason before.
Well, that is what happens in football, basketball. It doesn't happen as much in baseball. It can't really happen in football unless the guy gets hurt in that individual game. But in basketball, like a guy can just get hurt in Game 3, and it's like, shit, is he going to miss the rest of the series? Right? I mean, it's not like just a one-game situation.
Right.
Right? I mean, it's, all of a sudden you roll an ankle in Game 4. How many times in the Warriors run have there been, you close your eyes and think about like the visuals of like Steph or Clay running in the tunnel, trying to like, kind of like work it out.
Steph, multiple injuries, right?
Clay, multiple injuries.
KD.
Remember when Clay, I forget the series, got an elbow to the forehead and bled like he was a UFC fighter?
Was that an OKC series maybe? No.
Might have been Houston. Blood everywhere.
Maybe it was Houston.
Everywhere.
I mean, it's the Warriors.
Iguodala back when he was playing got hurt a lot,
Who's that?
Iguodala now he's legitimately always injured, but like back when he actually played, he got injured, some random injuries.
Yeah. The Warriors have not just won championships. They've been a part of some of the craziest plot twists in postseason in the last. And then you add to it Draymond getting suspended for a game in the finals. Uh, just crazy.
I think there are, from a betting standpoint, if the Kings were to pull this upset, it'd be viewed as one of the biggest upsets of all time. I don't necessarily agree with that, right? Because they were actually pretty good and they had home court. To me, like an enormous all-time upset is like the 8-1. It's hard, like
I
it'll be talked about like that, and I know because of the players, but can you be the biggest upset of all time when you're the 3-6?
I mean, well, the gambling line is a big part of it, right?
Speaks for itself.
And I also think the historicals matter. Like what you do next. Like if the Kings would go on to win the West, or if the Kings next year are the 1 seed. You remember when the Warriors almost knocked off the the Nuggets, right?
No, they beat the Nuggets. They almost beat the Spurs.
That's right. Thank you. It felt like they're coming. Like I remember talking. Like they're next. Their time is next. Steph's time is next. But partly what happened was they went on and did it, and so in hindsight, it all lined up. But if the Kings were to do it and then next year be the 7 seed, I think in hindsight it would make it look like a massive upset. If the Kings were to do it and then lose in the next round, I think that would make it look like a big upset. If the Kings do it and then win the West, and then next year they're a top 3 seed in the next 4 years, then it would just look like the natural one team passing another team. But I think in the moment, like part of it is the series. Like if all the Warriors are healthy for the series, like, Wiggins is back, Johnny's fresh legs. He hasn't played since February. Like I don't know. I think it's pretty massive. To me, you have to like think about what does it feel like right now? And it feels like, yes, the Warriors could win the West, and nobody is picking the Kings to do that, right?
No.
So from that standpoint, by the way, Giants took 2 or 3 from the Dodgers. So,
Giants
I'm sorry,
killed
they were up 3-0 after 2, and then lost 10-5. Never mind. Scratch that. We can save that for another time, though.
Well, no, really quick.
Oh,
I
okay.
looked up yesterday. Muncie, who feels like Babe Ruth against the Giants.
I know.
I listen. Rooted for the Giants my whole life. I met Logan Webb. He was cool. Like whenever I see he's
Hunter
pitching,
Bishop get well soon.
Yeah, I hope he does well. Conforto, root for that guy to hit some home runs. Jock Peterson, Bear, Northern California, Devontae Adams teammate, root for him to have success. As long as Gabe Kapler's the manager, I actively root against them. Like there's not a human being. Like, for example, politically, this is not a political podcast, but the reason I hate Gavin Newsom is not even necessarily his politics. It's just that everything he says, I truly believe to my core. He doesn't actually believe any of it. It's all irrelevant. He just say whatever the fuck he has to say, anything for it to move forward and get where he wants to go. And that's a lot of politicians, especially on one side. But I believe when I watch Gabe Kapler talk, it's like I don't even know if he believes the majority of the shit he's saying. He reminds me a lot of that. It's all just has to say whatever he's got to say. And different from Gavin, because Gavin's like trying to like where things are headed to get votes or whatever. Gabe's more to be likable. Like he thinks he's saying it's just all just.
You don't think it's real? You're saying?
Yeah. I think he's completely. It just makes me cringe. He makes me cringe.
His problem is he's got a division with 2 of the best teams in baseball too.
His team stinks.
We're 5 years in. Theo Epstein was on Russillo's podcast today. It was really good. I don't know if you listened to it.
Yeah, I did when I was barbecuing.
It was really good. And I was listening like, God, Theo said when he took over the Cubs, he said it's a 5-year plan. And then on the anniversary of his hiring was game 1 of the World Series, year 5. Well, this is year 5 for Farhan's group, and it just has not, it's obviously not gone the same way. And you mentioned to me, you're like, the problem is they're old. I had looked it up this morning. Their youngest player is almost 26 years old, Blake Sable. He's not a prospect. He's like a Rule 5 guy.
Yeah.
When you look at the Dodgers and the Padres have done it 2 different ways. When you look at their rosters, the Dodgers are like 19 guys on their roster are homegrown, and then they've added Mookie and whatever. And I think the Padres are like 6 of their guys are homegrown. But the guys they've added are just, I don't think they have a drafted player in their starting 9, the Padres. But their lineup is just outrageous, right? They've just gone we're just going to we'll just get them all, basically, till there's nowhere to put them. And then the Dodgers are, The Dodgers are actually less homegrown right now than they should be because Gavin Lux got hurt. They drafted him. But they are stacked with they are just stacked with talent. When you watch those two teams play baseball, you're like, look at these guys. Two of the watching the Padres play baseball is just incredible. Their lineup is just ridiculous. And obviously the Dodgers are just killer. The funny thing is, John, the Giants right now, I looked second in baseball in home runs. So like right now, the Diamondbacks are the leaders in the NL West. I could see the Giants sneaky kind of annoying you because they might kind of hang around.
Well, here's where I would push back. Bally Sports, which all I read on the internet was just disappeared. Yet the Suns are carried by Bally Sports. Maybe they kept the brands that kept working. I'm not exactly
and
sure.
Bally's is just the sponsor. It's actually Diamond Sports Group or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's hard for me to keep up. Like I'm a little confused by the way
it's
that all works
confusing
out.
because Bally's isn't the company; they're the sponsor of.
But I've thrown on when the Diamondbacks were playing the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And just from a movement standpoint, just scouting athlete movement.
Okay.
The Diamondbacks are bringing more to the table of just some. It feels like their era of just younger athletes.
Yeah, they're younger.
The Giants are like ultimately Farhan went all in on Gabe Kapler, which I thought was beyond a mistake. But ultimately, his undoing is going to be the talent on the team.
Well, yeah, the manager can only do so, right? It's not.
It feels like it's trending toward a disaster, guy.
The Diamondbacks have they have 2 first rounders and a second rounder that they drafted in their lineup right now.
I clicked on this Instagram
of 5 years
of Eric Burns last night, and he was watching the game live with Will Clark.
Yeah, No Filter Network.
And Will had fucking painted his face, and Will it looked like he had about 7 cocktails. And so I just started Googling Will Clark because Will, to me, like 93 when he left the Giants, signs with the Rangers in 94. Like that's when I was like 10. So I'm really more Barry Bonds, Matt Williams moving forward right then. Like Steve Young, Jerry Rice right then. Like I don't view Joe Montana, Will Clark. It's a little before
you don't remember them.
Our line, right? Yeah. I kind of came in early, like mid 90s is when I remember everything moving forward.
Yeah.
Will left, and the Giants, they decided not to sign him. He got at the time like 5 years, $30 million, which I was laying in bed last night thinking like 5 years, $30 million in 93 or 94. Is that the equivalent of like 180, right? I mean, that's got to be a shitload of money. But they had Matt Williams, Barry Bonds, and Will Clark, and they let Will walk. But just think about like for a moment, like that was kind of, and then to go from Barry to had Matt for a while, and then they get Jeff Kent. Like they just had star power. And then in our life, right, with Tim and Kane, like this is what the Niners always do. And this is obviously the Warriors. This ain't like the little engine that could. And it's not, we've always talked about how Northern California is different from LA. I think they have a lot in common in terms of like the Kobe Shaq, the Steph, the Dodger star players, the Giants. We don't give a fuck about your random players, especially if you're going to be kind of boring. That place is going to be so goddamn empty this summer that people are going to get pissed off and people are going to get fired.
I listened to Theo Epstein thinking, Theo wants to come back. I'd try and hire Theo. Now, Theo does the same kind of thing, but I think having a star, Bochy's gone. Bochy was a star. Not that you're buying tickets for Bochy necessarily, but there was just one person that everybody can identify with. And right now the Giants don't really have that, right? They were smart. Carlos Rodon, who the Yankees signed, paid a bunch of money to, is hurt. I would have liked for the Giants to but he's not. Carlos Rodon is not what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about Aaron Judge. We're talking about that level of star, and they just don't have it.
But they're not getting that. Like we have.
That's why I'd go to Theo. I think Theo would be that level. Like Theo is. It'd be a big deal to get Theo.
Well, I think we know for a fact you're not getting Judge or Harper anymore. So you need to get your posies, and this guy can't.
Right. No, they haven't.
Judge keep hitting bombs? I haven't really paid attention.
Yeah, Yankees lead baseball in homers, at least the American League.
Yeah, he was smart not to make that jump.
Well, he was never. I told you, he was never doing it. You don't leave the fucking Yankees. You don't leave the Yankees. All right,
and he didn't, and now he's captain of the Yankees,
and he never was gonna. He just did that fake video at the hotel. All right. Oh, we did a video that you can catch on YouTube about Jake Haener, the 49ers, some other stuff, but go check that out. Anything else?
I'm torn. I enjoy. I'm rooting for the Warriors because I just like watching Steph more than the Kings. But I'm rooting for the Kings to be feisty here.
I want it to be fight. My dad is now. I opened Pandora's box. Kings have been unusually healthy this year. Trend will continue. All right. He'll be listening to this and texting me about it later, I'm sure.